Good morning, listeners, and welcome back to the Internet Marketing and Business Solutions radio show with Ron Couming from RCS Technology Solutions, where we provide business owners and entrepreneurs the ability to achieve even greater success by attracting, converting, and retaining their ideal customers and clients using various Internet marketing techniques and methods. The purpose of this show is to bring subject matter experts from around the world to give you information on how they have achieved even greater success to try to, guess what, help you achieve even greater success. Can you tell a general theme here? Today we have a tremendous guest with us, and I'm so happy to have him that we're going to have to split this guest into two episodes, two 15 to 18 minute episodes, because he has just too much value to try to compress it into one. So this is going to be part one of two parts. Our first guest and only guest today is Marvin Epstein. He is a serial entrepreneur who has built a variety of businesses and co-founder of Commerce International, which is an exclusive private membership organization dedicated to connecting exceptional and inspirational entrepreneurs, both socially and professionally. He enjoyed years of success in finance with his expertise marketing businesses to private investors, thus creating I.A.T Capital, a private enterprise working with fellow entrepreneurs and executives in a variety of business investments, including sports, entertainment, new media, technology, and hospitality. His distinctive method of relationship-driven partnership has created an efficient and effective process to provide value and rewarding opportunities for himself and his clients. He is a graduate with a degree in business administration from Long Beach State University. He continues to impact the lives of college students and corporate executives as an experienced public speaker, with his goal is to inspire fellow entrepreneurs and future leaders, sharing unique and effective business strategies while raising awareness and hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity to improve the lives of others. Good morning, Marvin, you with us?
Good morning.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in looking out at the beautiful Pacific Ocean.
We're up here in Boston, Mass., and again, we're very grateful to have you on, but we're probably a little bit jealous right now because it's in the mid-50s and it's rainy and raw here, and I know you're probably cruising into the 80s today and sunny.
Yeah, it might be a little overcast, so we may have to deal with it, but we'll do our best.
It's a nice problem to have. I was at several events, the Yacht Mastermind back in, I believe it was December, and I got to listen to you in Beverly Hills. That was excellent. I travel the country to learn and, so I can increase the benefits and value I provide my clients, but I also get to meet exceptional people, much like yourself. And then I was with you again at Harvard University at an event they had just a week or two ago. So I'm blessed to have you on the show, and I know a lot about you, and I'm very happy to know a lot about you, but our guests don't at this point. So could you tell us a little bit more about yourself other than what was in the bio and Commerce International and what you guys do?
Sure. First of all, Ron, thanks so much for having me on, and I'm hoping we'll entertain and give some of your listeners some insights and some tidbits of good things that they can take away and utilize in their life and share the stories. I think one thing that I always like to do is try and have some kind of humor involved because, one, I think it's the most engaging, and two, it's the thing that I remember the most. Most people remember when somebody tells a joke or tells a great story, as opposed to, somebody give you instructions how to use, the latest, telecommunications project. So that's my goal here. And I know your listeners are quite an eclectic group, and so I'll try and give them something that'll be really rewarding and enjoyable and make their Monday, whether it's early in the morning or a little later, something that's fun. So how's that?
That's excellent. And just so the listeners know, if they're driving and they don't have the ability to write anything down, including your contact information, this episode, as all episodes, is archived on my website. You go to www.rcstechnologysolutions.com/media, and then just scroll down to radio show, and all the episodes are there, so you can listen to them. So don't try to write anything down and risk getting into an accident if you're driving. The information's readily available for you. So feel free.
Understood. Can you hear me, Ron?
I can hear you perfect.
Oh, okay. So I think one of the things that, that I learned and that we talked about when I was speaking at Harvard was about, really finding things that make you feel good and how you feel good. And so I always like to start with, I kind of joke with people. I'd say, my mom did all the work, and I just follow the instructions, and sometimes some of the pages get glued together. So I think what I really mean by that is, my mom is a true mentor in my life and an inspiration in so many ways, as was her mother, my late grandmother, as well as my sister. So I have some tremendous matriarchs in my family that really, I'd say, help me in guiding me through, amazing opportunities and amazing experiences, but really making me understand what was valuable to it. And I'm fortunate enough to have my father in my life as well, who's been a tremendous value and support. And I feel like, between everybody that, you grow up with, whether it's somebody in your immediate family or somebody that you just grow close to, it's important to have somebody that gives you insight and gives you guidance, but most importantly, that really tells you the truth about who you are. And, Ron, you had a chance to meet my mom, and my mom don't play any games and pull any punches. She, her expression was, you can reach for the stars as long as you keep your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And, as any typical boy that, wanted to experience life, the hardest thing is, you think the ground is one spot, and, your parents might think it's someplace else. And fortunately, most of the time she was right, and most of the time I listened. So, just from a personal experience, one quick anecdote, just to give you an idea of, what happened around our house is when I was 10 years old, I got very upset with my mom, and I told her I'm running away from home, and she helped me pack. So that was truly, and of course, then you test, the mettle of, the mom, and you say, okay, fine, I'm going to take it to another level. So she helped me pack. I took my suitcase, walked down the street to my friends, and I ended up staying over that night, having a meal, et cetera, came home the next day, and of course, tail between my legs, apologized, told her how much I loved her, told her how sorry I am, and her look on her face was, well, does that mean you're back? And I said, yeah, I'm very sorry. And she said, okay, well, now you're grounded. I said, I'm grounded? She said, yeah. She said, well, you have a curfew, and you broke the curfew. And I said, wait a minute, I was running away from home. I was leaving. There was no curfew. There were no rules. She said, no. She said, you're back. You were supposed to be home at a certain time, and you didn't, so you're grounded. So what I realized very early on is she was pretty unflappable. In fact, her nickname, not only to me, but also to a lot of my friends, was The Rock. And whenever I would have friends over, they would always want to spend time with her and learn with her, almost to the point that I'm like, guys, let's go out and play. They're like, no, I want to talk to your mom. So without making this whole thing a tribute to my mom, what I'm really saying is whenever you meet somebody that really has a tremendous and positive effect in your life, you really need to embrace that, because one, you never know how much time you're going to be able to have that, and two, you never really realize how important it is until you're able to experience these things, and then all of a sudden you do things by instinct. And the one thing I learned is, when you do things by instinct after you've trained and after you've worked hard at anything, you become very good at it, and it becomes very natural, and you don't have to think about it as much. Just like you, when you do your interviews, you've done this for a long time, you're very professional, you're very prepared, and you do it naturally, and it comes off very well. So anything that I would say, just as a quick background note for your listeners is, anything that you really enjoy and anything that you see people telling you the truth about, take that in as a value and take that in as a nugget that somebody's really doing something for you, and look at it as a gift and really take the time to evaluate it. And, that's, I guess you could say, a little more my personal background. I was always an entrepreneur. I was surrounded by, a great group of people when I was growing up that were interested in many things, and went on to decide to go on to college, as you said. And I was involved in student government. I was campaign manager for student body president, and was very, very passionate about a lot of the things that were going on educationally. But I would say more so than just going to class. In fact, sometimes I would say that, the best thing about college is that there were so many fun things to do. You just have to make sure you get good enough grades to stay in the community. Yeah. Now, that wouldn't go over real well at Harvard University, because I think Harvard was, obviously such an institution that was so prestigious and of higher learning. So I would never say that, but what I really feel about the value of any kind of an educational, we'll call it community, is really the interaction with the people. The classroom setting is, an organized way of learning, but I can truly say that the majority of things that I've been fortunate enough to learn and be privileged enough to experience have come from people and mentors and people that definitely know more than me and want to share it. So I'm very blessed. That's a little bit of my personal background.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful that you shared that, because one thing I found when you talk to a lot of successful people, and I've been blessed to speak to a lot of people at this radio show and also at various events, one of the things I find that is like a common theme amongst them is several things, but one is they're almost always positive, they're almost always optimistic. How they perceive things is, different than other people. They perceive things as more of a learning experience. What can I take from this? How can I move forward? But and other things too. But one of the main things I noticed is they almost always have a rock solid foundation. Some mentor, somebody who was in their life that gave them such a great beginning that in which to build that foundation on. And it really sounds like your mother was that person for you, to at least start the process of learning these really good and important life lessons.
Yeah, well, definitely. And I would also say that with regards to, understanding life and understanding things, is when you have somebody that's so principle driven that, you realize that she always used to say, if you could handle the responsibility, you get the freedom. And the one message that I realized was, number one, I'm not going to get away with much. This is going to be tough. But more importantly is she made it very simple. And what I've realized is the more simple you can make something, whether it's somebody explaining something, you explaining it to them, or being able to have something that you want to present or demonstrate, whether it's a conversation that you're having, whether it's interpersonal communication or it's a business presentation, the simpler that you can explain it. And I don't mean primitive when I say simpler. I mean the most clear and concise way to explain something will always tell somebody how well you understand something. And, the example that I just gave, when she said, if you can handle the responsibility, you get the freedom, the first thing I'm thinking is, well, there's got to be a gray area. There's got to be a way to rationalize this, because, of course, I'm going to make mistakes, and I want to be able to do anything I want. So the more gray area, the more room for me to make excuses to be able to do something. Same thing, with life is the more things that you make clear to yourself, and the more direct you are, and the more honest you are, and the more genuine you are, the more you're going to really understand what you're trying to achieve and be honest with yourself. And like I said, whether it's, personal or business, if you're giving a business presentation or you're talking to, whether it's fellow entrepreneurs or or potential investors or other deals that you're trying to do, especially nowadays, there's so much ADD going around. Everybody wants you to get to the point, get to the message, tell them what you want, how you want something, and what you're willing to do for it. And if you focus on those things, you'll at least be able to get the reaction you're looking for. Whether or not they agree or disagree is up to the substance and the information, but at least you're going to get a reaction based on somebody really understanding what you're talking about.
Excellent. I love it. And you know, this, like I said, this is part 1 of part 2, and we probably got about another 5 minutes left or so of part 1, and then we'll move on to part 2. So it sounds like this is a great way to have this, like the foundational, how you got into business, how things that, you know, got important to you got to that level. And then in episode 2, we can go into the more things that you've done forward. So in addition to your mother, who would you say has been one of your most inspiring mentors?
You know, it's interesting, and I'm sure every entrepreneur has been asked this question. It's hard to say from a standpoint of, you know, high-profile people. I have a very different approach to mentors. I look at mentors as every day my goal is to learn and grow, and I've been fortunate enough to learn from anywhere from, I'd say, Fortune, 10 CEOs to 6-year-olds just by watching and seeing the example. And I know it's a very abstract answer, and for your listeners, I really want to clarify that to say that you have to be open to learning to have a mentor. And if a mentor is somebody that, you saw online or you saw, speaking or you met because you were at some event, those are amazing people and that's great. But you also should look at mentors as people you can learn from all the time. And if somebody is sharing something, you have an opportunity to learn. And if you're in the moment, if you're there anyways, you might as well be there. And what I mean by be there is watch what they're doing. If it's a 6-year-old child, I learned, when I was holding a baby and saw how much, they struggled or they held on to my thumb, I realized, how determined they were to accomplish something. And this is when, they were first born. So, my mentors are, some people are known, some people are, not as known. So I'm not here to try and, promote different people to have other people follow them. I can, give you good guides on books and different people that I think wrote some things that were very inspirational and very powerful. But I know everybody has that. But what I would say, just from a standpoint of finding your mentor, is people that are willing to share something with you and genuinely share it unconditionally. That's the foundation of a mentor. And I say that in a very positive way because the flip side is a lot of people try and share things because they're looking for something or they have an agenda or they want something from you. You really know when you have a mentor when somebody is unconditionally sharing something. They're doing it from their heart and they're doing it because they care about you. And if those things are in place, you're going to learn from it. And then it's your job to figure out what you do with it. And through mentors, some well-known, some not, then I've created my own exercises and my own ways of using what they've told me and tailoring it to something that works for me.
I love it, and I think that's a natural segue. So can you tell us the difference between a mentor, and I love the way you said it, but a mentor and a coach then, because people can accelerate and level up 1 or 2 or 3 levels from wherever they are in business by whether it's hiring a coach, partnering with a coach, becoming a marketing partner, whatever the case may be, or somebody who can help them get to the next level because they can jump 3 or 4 years with that other person's experience. So it sounds to me, and I kind of already know the answers to these questions, but I'm asking for my audience. But can you give us your definition, the difference between a mentor and a coach, somebody who they would actually hire to help them? So a mentor is, like you said, it's kind of unconditional. So what would be your definition or suggestions on the difference between a mentor and a coach?
Sure, that's a really good question. And I know, for the last several years, when I meet certain people and I ask them about what they're doing and how they've, evolved, and they tell me they have a life coach. And after a while, when you hear the term, you want to understand, 1, what they understand, and 2, what it really means. And, a coach is somebody that, literally by definition, is somebody that's creating a blueprint, somebody that's creating the playbook for you, somebody that's designing a plan that's customized for you after taking in information and understanding better what your needs are, assessing them, and putting together a game plan for you so you can accomplish those goals. It's somebody that you can tap into the resources at certain times for certain reasons, and it's usually somebody that has a scheduled time frame for you to communicate with them, for you to meet with them, for you to evaluate certain things, and it's an ongoing process. A lot of people, because they're so busy, because they're doing so many things, nowadays they want somebody that can actually make sure they stay on the right path. Or in some cases, they don't really know what path they want to go, and they need somebody to help them kind of dig deeper to find out where they're really going. And so a coach, that's exactly by definition what their role is, to be able to give you that blueprint, to be able to create that game plan with your input, with your involvement, and obviously you being the ongoing participant. Where a mentor, I look at, like I said, I look at a mentor as a gift. And the good news is having a mentor or having mentors is just how you perceive them. And it's something like there's a special shelf in your head, in your heart, where you can always have that shelf right next to you, where if you need something from that shelf, you can draw from it. And that's really, how I envision a mentor. And to me, that's really the difference. I hope I was able to explain that and define the two for you.
I think that was excellent, and thank you very much. And I want to let the listeners know again that we're going to be closing out this segment. This is episode 1. We're going to be taking a break in about a minute and a half, and then we're going to come back in a couple of minutes live to continue this interview, which will be part 2 in the promotional pieces. So this part has been tremendous in laying the foundation. In the next part, Marvin can talk to us about all the other successes that have come from this tremendous stuff that he's talked about us in this episode 1. So Marvin, please stick with us. And can you tell us? Well, it's Karma International. Can you give us the website and how people can contact you just in case they can't get to episode 2?
Oh, sure. They can go to www.karmainternational.com. to learn more about Karma, some of the upcoming events, the things that we're doing, and obviously they'll be able to see some of the fellow leaders and members that we have in the community. And if they want to contact me directly, I'm happy to give them my email address is marvin@karmainternational.com.
Excellent. And in part 2, we're going to focus a lot more on that, Karma International. So you've been listening to Ron Couming in the Ron Couming in the Internet Marketing and Business Solutions Radio Show, and we'll be back momentarily. Thanks.